Once upon a time, a king wanted to build a big city. To do this, he ordered all the masons and carpenters who lived in his country to come together. Among them was a young mason who had to go to build the city the day after his wedding. The city was built for 12 years, and when all the works were finished, the masters started to let them go home, rewarding them before that. For the long labor, each builder was offered a choice of either money or 3 wise counsel. But no master wished to receive wise counsel instead of money. But here came the turn to the mason, who was taken to work right after the wedding. He thought and answered that he wanted to hear 3 wise counsels. Then the king said, "Here is the first piece of advice. Never put your burden on the horse of a casual traveler. The second advice is to never stay overnight in a house where the wife is old and the husband is young, or where the husband is young, or where the husband is old and the wife is young. The third piece of advice is to remember that it is written on your fingernail to be discreet." Then the king gave him 3 loaves of barley flour bread and told him not to break them until he crossed the threshold of his house. And so the mason, along with 2 other craftsmen, set off. One hot afternoon, a horseman caught up with the travelers. "Hey friends," he called them, "let me help you. Put your burden on my horse." Both companions of our bricklayer gave their burden to the rider, but the bricklayer did not. The rider rode on and suddenly started his horse and galloped away, taking with him the clothes and money of both masons. The bricklayer thought that the first commandment had come in handy. My companions had lost everything, but I had everything intact. The evening came and the travelers stopped in one village. When they saw that the owner of the house where it was decided to spend the night was young, and her husband was old, our stonemason got up and went to sleep in another house. The young wife waited until everyone was asleep and stabbed her husband and began to shout that the guests had killed him. The neighbors came running and killed both masters. So the second commandment came in handy, thought the bricklayer, and went on his way to his home. Fate brought him home on the eve of the holiday. The mason slowed down his steps and heard a conversation. 2 voices, 1 female and 1 male. "Damn it," he exclaimed, "while I had been working for 12 years, my wife was visited by a lover." He took out his gun and started aiming at the window. At that moment his gaze fell on the fingernail of his finger on the trigger, and he remembered his restraint. Then he forced himself to listen again and heard the same voices again. "Mother, when will our father return?" the young voice asked. "Soon, son, soon. The king has already released the masters, and your father should come one day and serve," the voice of the mason's wife. "Here I am!" the mason shouted joyfully. Running into the room, his wife threw herself on his neck, followed by his son. When the wife recovered from her joy, she began to say to her husband, "You must be hungry," and started to make a fuss to put food on the table, but the bricklayer stopped her and said, "Wait, I have 3 loaves of bread given to me by the king." They broke the bread and 500 gold pieces fell out, the same amount they found in the second bread and in the third.